will mute my
Recording and starting.
I will mute my microphone and turn off my camera so you can work as usual, and then leave when you have to leave, and I will turn it off later. Okay?
Bye, Laura. Thank you.
Gracias, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Gracias, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Laura.
We waited a little while. I think Susan didn't get the memo to use the last or the new link to Blue Jeans that Laura sent. So
Okay.
So I'm now sending her.
I can send it to her before leaving.
No, I think Laura has mailed it to her. Laura has mailed it to her.
Okay.
So
Although she thinks she's using the right one.
Yeah. She's the right one?
Yeah.
She thinks she is.
I have the earthquake.
I think we just lost Audrey to Wi-Fi as
Yes, something been happening. Like Siri been just invading my meeting. I don't know. And then I heard music, and anyway, I turned off my phone and I restarted. So I'm hoping this is okay now. Everybody's hearing me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right, great. Okay, I think
Yes.
I'm okay again. Yeah.
well. Yes, miss. I'm not gonna do what Donnie just did to you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to call Susan to see what happens.
Susie's here.
Yay.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I think everybody should be in, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
let's start then.
Fine, yeah.
Right.
We're waiting on Wendy's not here, but she's coming.
Vendy.
Yeah, I think when you said something with her laptop, I think she sent.
Yep, she was rebooting.
Right, okay.
Susie! Susie, Man U for life.
They know that, don't worry. Listen, no Arsenal fans to speak, please.
No, I not Arsenal fan.
No, I'm talking about Audrey.
Oh, Audrey.
Yeah, Audrey, the Arsenal fan. Tell her I'm not talking to her today.
Okay.
I think she dropped off. She's not talking to you either.
Yeah, it's a mutual thing. I'm having some challenges. So if you see me get knocked off, guys, I don't know what's happening. But
No, you're falling asleep, Audrey. You're tired.
No, I'm not. I don't know what is happening.
Last session.
Is a network or something going on?
Hey, Susie, Laura said we have 8 more sessions, but it's in Spanish.
Yeah.
That's okay.
She's
I hope
ready.
you're gonna
Are
do
you ready for that?
Spanish
Good.
Are you ready for
Very
that?
good.
Susie, I sit in something called the IADB, which is the Inter-American Board, but all the South Central American brigadier generals and major generals, and in a conference for 4 hours. So trust me. And the interchange between Portuguese and Spanish. So trust me.
I hope you picked up some Spanish. You will need it to work in this area.
You're fluent
Trust
now.
me.
Roger, why are you calling me?
You was absent.
Was to see that you got in. You're getting some problems to get in.
Yeah, it was struggling, boy. I had to go and log out and reboot and all
Oh,
kind of thing. Yeah. I
oh,
was struggling
okay
for
then.
15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, you know how when you
Wendy,
get in a certain age.
yeah. What was Wendy? Wendy,
She said she was
what?
rebooting.
He what?
She was rebooting. She would log rebooting her machine.
Okay. Okay, well, Laura, should you're in contact with Wendy to see how far she went to reboot?
She's on WhatsApp, and I know the same that Susie does.
Okay. So maybe we should
Do you want to go?
maybe we should start and she'll just join in when she comes in. Right? Because it's 7:08. Right. Well, good night, everyone. I think everybody's here except Daniel. I think Daniel has a matter in terms of his job, so he wouldn't be able to join us tonight on the last night, and but it's being recorded, so that means he should get the recording of today's session, and so that means he will not have lost anything or any information that we're going through. From what Laura indicated to me, Laura indicated to me, tonight we just dealing with the post-tournament, which should be major to us, and then we're doing the wrap-up, really. So that again should be monumental, right? The post-event first at the end of the tournament for me is a short, basically short for me. But for past UMs or potential UMs, I think it's extremely important for us when we, at the end of the tournament, what I have experienced, and I suppose Mommy, Steve, Susan, Wendy, even Laura, as a technical person, would have experienced that. You remember we had said that we have a diverse group of umpires at the tournament. And all through the tournament, you would have been creating this teamwork. But at the end of the tournament, after you do your umpire feedback form with the TD and the UM, now is the time to say goodbyes at the end of the day. And that is where we have to also do a lot of preparation, preparing work in order to see these umpires on their way. And it come prior to you, when they were appointed, you would have gotten all the information from them in terms of their arrival and the departure date. And part of your job as a UM is to ensure that the information that they are given to you was accurate in terms of following up to make sure that the LOC or the local organizing committee have your properly arranged transport for them to leave. For all the umpires, your job is to ensure that that is done. Because many times the umpires leave very, very early in the morning or 1 or 2 hours just after the tournament ends. Or they might have to leave a day after everyone leaves. So you need to ensure that transportation there are organized for them to make sure they have the transport, right? So you need to make sure follow up on that. Another thing you need to follow up on is that most of the time the umpires are in the hotel rooms and they don't realize that if they use things, it is charged to the room. And normally you have 2 umpires per room. And younger ones sometimes don't realize that if they use, sometimes they have a minibar in the hotel room. If they use those things, it's to their account. And sometimes it's when they're leaving at the last night, when they're checking out, they get a bill. And there's sometimes a conflict in terms of who has to pay the bill because who spend what and who don't spend what. So as an umpire manager, you have to ensure those things they understand that. They need to know if they take anything, it has to be to whoever an account and to make sure the account is dealt with before they leave. And it's better for them to do it not on the exact time they're leaving, but on the last night before everything ended. Make sure they go downstairs, check the account, make sure nothing billed to them, or even with a telephone account, they might use the phone to call places, and that might be a charge to them, right? So be careful about that, right? So make sure something like that. Sometimes, again, as umpires manager, sometimes the hotels ask the umpires to leave a credit card when they initially book to coming to the hotel to take up any incidentals. You have to liaise with the path coordinator, because sometimes path take up all those things, not allow the umpires to use the credit card. So it might have double accounting. They might take it out of the path credit card and the umpire's credit card, right? So you need to make sure those things are squared up before those things happen. So check those things. So transportation, even with the accounting, you need to work out that too. And also the young umpires leaving to go back, they normally sometimes have to fend for themselves in the airport, and they don't understand the immigration aspect of it or the customs aspect of it, or how to traverse the airport in going back home. So you need to be like a parent in dealing with those issues. So find out about it, speak to them. If you have to do a buddy system with an experienced umpire to do that, you need to think. Because remember, you are responsible. You are like the parent for those umpires when they come to this tournament. So you have to take that role and understand that role and make sure you fulfill that role before they go. Right? That is some of the things. The other aspect of that, your responsibility, is that a lot of the umpires do not have a mentor or do not have the ability to follow up on some of the suggestions that you as the umpires manager would have given to them in the UPF form. They wouldn't have opportunities because they might not have somebody of that experience back home to follow up with them or guide them in their developmental plans that you would have advised them that they should follow up on. So one of your responsibilities is to try to find a buddy system or a mentor system within the park situation in the country, from neighboring countries, to buddy with them or mentor them going forward, right? And also what I would advise is that in your report, the PAC, to the PAC UM, to the PAC Umpiring Committee, those kinds of situations or those kind of situation settings, you should make a note and forward it to the Umpiring Committee of PAC, so that we therefore will know the landscape of the umpires that came to us and where we could try to assist in helping them with a mentor or a buddy system within PAC to help them on their developmental plans going forward. So don't leave them alone. Another thing, what we could attempt to do also, and COVID has done that to us, we have all the Zoom situations, the WhatsApp. So you should try to encourage them to continue liaising or forming friendships or bonds within the umpiring fraternity within PAC going forward. So they have somebody to talk to. It is not you necessarily, but some other umpire within the PAC or somebody of like mind within our continent to constantly keep them, online, developing, training, and building themselves in terms of going forward. I think that is one of the things we must do. I think we need to, as umpires managers in PAC, we need to do. One of the things I would like for you as a potential empires manager or empires managers within PAF is to continuously forward your thoughts to the umpiring committee of PAF, because we will not have the total picture of what's going on there about everybody. But if we get constantly getting feedback from you.
And Roger, a
Hello?
question.
Yes.
Yeah. When you say forward feedback to the umpiring committee, do you mean one specific person? Do you mean to everyone on the committee?
No, I think we have a secretary. And if you forward information to the secretary then will dissect and develop the information to the committee.
So send it to Gus.
You have a chair, a secretary, and that person is the conduit. You send information to, and that person devolves the information to everybody. So we have information, we have the information at hand. You understand? But what I basically would like to see happen is that there's a constant communication between you and the umpiring committee, so we can we'll always know what is happening, what is going on with our umpires within the continent. So when we have making decisions or planning things, we'll actually be in a we'll have real-time information and have a feel of what is going on along the ground. That's important for us. That is important for us in terms of things. So that is for me, in a nutshell, what should be the post-event, in terms of you have done all the things in terms of the reports, you know what I mean, what it is to do thereafter at the end of the tournament, right? And always remember, and there are a number of experiences I have, and I suppose Edmundo, Wendy, Steve, Susan would have gotten that experiences where I've gone to the airport and you've seen these umpires there, and they're lost because one, they might have spent every single one all their money, you understand? And they didn't realize that you need to keep something, because some countries have an airport departure tax. It might not be in the ticket. It might not be. Sometimes they're leaving again and they would have packed the bags with things that they shouldn't leave the country with. And they might be accosted by the customs, right? Or they might know how to navigate the leaving of the country, because some countries you have to go through immigration and customs again. Some countries you do not have to go through immigration, you just go through customs. And all of the nuances that you as a past manager would have gone through and experienced over the years, it is important that you need to keep them, you need to keep them in check and assist them in going out and when you're leaving, before they board the airport, the airlines and things like that. So it's important that we understand those things, right? So that is some of the things for me that I wanted to say in terms of it's not monumental, but it's very, very important, because we tend to pay as soon as the tournament ends and we finish our last report, our responsibility ends there at the hotel. And however they get home, they get home.
Roger, can I add?
Yes.
Yeah, just two little things, and I may have missed some of your words. But what is also important is when you're getting all the information of their flights out, because they have certain check-in times and check-out times, some of the umpires had to end up staying a day after. And some of the young ones, they didn't know what to do because the teams made no arrangements with them. Of course, it's at their expense, and the first thing they will tell you is they have no money. So you have to make sure when you get that information that you find out and let them during the tournament, if possible, to make all their arrangements to leave the hotel when they're supposed to leave and to ensure they're going where they're supposed to be going. And also to add to what you were just talking about with the departure tax, because it is a good idea to also put on the PowerPoint that you're going to send out to the umpires about your country and what they're coming into, so they can be prepared. So that's actually a good little thing to add on to the PowerPoint as well, because that is also very important.
Yes, yes. The good thing about it, we have a PAF normally Laura Mattiotti or people like that, her team normally are wrong, and you could always liaise with her.
Yeah.
If you have to leave before, so she keep an eye on the umpires, those young ones, especially going forward. You have to be careful about that. And I think that was it. Mommy, you have anything to add? Steve, you have anything to add?
The other thing, the other paper is important to complete is umpires manager form, with how is all the tournaments went, about the facilitators, stadium, all the things, and especially in that form, the specific things to the umpires. Don't forget that. Because that form is important about how the tournament went, or the serving, the stadium, the location, the changes room, the facilitation for that. If all the things are completely in order to be in the tournaments.
Yes, that's very important, and it's very true. It's very true.
Yeah.
Steve, you were there?
Yeah, I'm here.
No. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be in and out. I'm just trying to manage a couple different things. But no, Roger, I thought that was really comprehensive. I think as an umpire manager, in order to, Roger gave us a nice list. Some people might have wrote it down or whatever. Put yourself in the shoes of the umpires for everything when you get there to be able to draw on what Roger just said. How are you getting home? How are you getting through the airport? And make sure that you convey that to everyone. So think. All I'm saying is put yourself in the place of the umpires, what they have to go through, and just try to be ahead of it. Because, like we said, many of them will be young and inexperienced at traveling, and it is our duty to help them the best that we can.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Laura, you have anything to add on your side, the technical side, in observing what those things will have happened?
No, I think you've covered the logistics stuff. There was, when we had earlier conversations, one question that came up is, do you follow up with folks once they get home?
Right. That is another aspect of it. And I think, well, I don't want to put Gus on the spot here. I suppose we'll have a discussion thereafter. Because one of the things that the umpiring committee is trying to grapple with, in terms of come to terms with, is to set up a mentor-mentee situation within the continent, where we use a number of experienced umpires, not umpires managers, experienced umpires, to have a relationship with all our umpires within the path. So issues that what we spoke about, even over the period of time, before tournaments, during tournaments, after tournament, post-tournament, those situations that we would have experienced or going to experience, we are attempting to form a cadre of people to have relationships with our umpires within the continent to address that situation where we have a relationship with them within their particular home, as opposed to the umpires managers having a relationship with the umpires post-tournament. And the reason why we don't, from my humble position, why we don't have the umpires managers having too much of a relationship with the umpires within their own countries is because you're going to have a conflict when you have to manage those same umpires at a tournament, because you're going to have to assess them. And if you have a relationship with them outside of a tournament, in their particular home, when they come to a tournament, right, you will be put on a particular situation that you do not want to be in that situation.
Yeah, in the direction that we got. Sorry, and I will take this, Roger. With life returning a little bit more back to normal, the one of the things that we were having a problem with in the mentor program was the sheer number of people that we thought would be able to benefit others as a mentor in a mentee relationship, mentor-mentee relationship. The new folks, this class, based on our last umpiring committee meeting, has been deemed as potential. We would be able to, because of our inexperience as UMs, we could still fill a role as a mentor until the pool of mentors builds itself back up again. There's a lot of information that this group could share, and therefore, because of that, we didn't necessarily want to lose it and just say, sorry, Fernando, sorry, Daniel, sorry, Donnie, you're now an umpire manager, you can't be a mentor. We don't have those numbers yet. So based on the last umpiring committee meeting, this group will potentially have mentees still. So you may play a dual role, but as Roger was saying, we want to eliminate, and part of the goal of the mentor discussions that we've had from the PAP standpoint is we did not want to duplicate the errors in the ways that things were done in other continental federations or at the FIH level from the standpoint of creating those conflicts of interest, not just internal to the country, but also at the appointment level when it came to appointments at a tournament. And the lack of, well, not the lack of, but in a way, a lack of transparency that might show some form of favoritism when it came to somebody getting an appointment over somebody else at a tournament. So to Roger's point, we've eliminated as much as possible the potentials for conflict of interest.
Thank you, Gus. Now, today is really to hear from you all, as the participants. And you have Mommy, you have Steve, when you come in, you have Laura here and myself to talk about things that we did over the 8 days, the 32 contact hours. And now the time to have that discussion, the evaluation of the session or the whole seminar will be emailed to you by Laura Mattiotti tomorrow morning, right? And you need to answer that evaluation form. It'll be online as quickly as possible. Send it back to her so she can send it back to us, right? So, but now, before I close off, I will leave it to you all now to have the discourse about all the things we spoke about, or anything you want to talk about. And you have us here who was part of the whole webinar with you. And we can talk about anything you want to talk about, ask any question, whatever you want to do. So you have Mommy here, you have Wendy coming in, you have Steve, myself, and Wendy here. Okay, Wendy here. Thank you. So, and Mommy and Wendy and Steve and Laura, you also could say what you want to say to the ask your question, what you feel and things like that. That's the session to do. So I'm opening it up now. Fernando, don't cry.
But I will start. I don't really have a question. I really wanted to just say, you hearing me? Are you
Yes.
Okay, right.
Yes.
I'm not sure because my thing is going crazy sometimes.
Take off my mic. Don't tell me to take it off.
Yeah, yes, I keep on hearing a reverb. Well, I don't have a question really. I mean, there will be many questions along the way as we develop as potential umpires managers, and I'm sure we can call on all you facilitators at data really fantastic job. I thought the workshop exceeded my expectation, and even more so because it was the first time that I was doing something like this online, and so it felt almost like we were together and not a virtual situation. So that was very good. You know, what I take away, I take away from this, clearly the management skills and the technological skills and the officiating skills and knowing the rules and those stuff, they're very important. But for me, the most important thing was acknowledging the importance of the people skills, you know, the communication, the emotional intelligence, you know, the empathy, the conflict management. And, you know, it just, I keep on referring to this as a job because really and truly, a lot of people get paid to actually manage people like this. And so it is a very awesome responsibility, and one that I think all of us, if given the chance, we will relish that opportunity, and we will draw on what we learned here, because it was delivered very well. I mean, very good information, and you know, it just showed the many dimensions of the umpire's manager role, and I just want to say thank you so much to all of you for the awesome job you've done. Thank you.
Arsenal should hire you.
That's why we're on the up.
So, Audrey, it's Wendy here. Does
Hi,
that mean we
Wendy.
haven't put you off?
No, absolutely
I
not.
think
No,
that
no,
was our
no.
biggest fear.
I think no. I just keep looking at it and said, "This is a hell of a job. This is a hell of a job." But I say, you know, as I just said, you know, the soft skills, the people skills. Once you have that, I think you will go a long way, because everything else you can, you know, continue to learn and develop as you go along. But the people skills are what we really all need to work on. You know, all those soft skills that are important to managing people. So I'm not turned off. I'm just a little overawed with the huge responsibility as umpire manager. So I'm not.
Well, speaking of
So
that,
you guys did a great job in not discouraging us. Well, me.
Thank you.
well, playing off of that a little bit, Audrey,
Yeah.
you know, you all have to understand and assess not only your availability to do something like I can have this 2 weeks, but your
Right.
ability to be able to do the management beforehand. You can see how big the job is. You can see all the things that have to happen. So in the process of accepting an appointment, from an umpire standpoint, we knew we were going for 2 weeks, and I went out and did the training whenever I could do it and all of that. Looked at a WhatsApp here and there and a few things. Okay, that was it. All right. But when it comes to umpire managing, there's so much more to it that you have to, you know, instead of just dealing with yourself and an umpire manager, you're dealing with yourself, your co-umpire manager, and probably 10 to 12 umpires that are going to email you at different times and things of that nature. So my only point is, you can see how big the job is, and just be prepared for the magnitude. So thank you, Audrey, for the way you said that, because it does show everything that needs to be done. So just be prepared as you're deciding if you're available or not.
Yeah, I think that's key, Steve, definitely. I think one of the other things I was reflecting, I feel as though I've been throwing 10,000 baseball pitches today because I've been doing some work on the house, and my right arm feels as though it's like, ugh. Anyway, I think one of the things to think about is that even though there's been some, not negatives, but I think constructive stuff, the positives in being an umpire manager far, far outweigh any of the shit that happens. For, you know, I wanted to be kind of blunt there, but because that's what it does. That's why we keep coming back and enjoying what we do, because we learn from that. We know that we've got so much to give. And when you get your first appointment, you will realize the knowledge that you do have, the skill sets, and you'll be in awe of yourself and know that if there is a problem, there are people out there that can help, and you don't have to carry it all on your own shoulders as well. So
I completely agree with
Yep.
I completely would agree with Wendy, because you need to involve with all the umpires and try to get from them the full potential from the umpiring. So this is our job. A lot, instead of a lot of administrative works or appointments or something else, is to involve and to get empathy with umpires and to try to make a good team and involve from that. That's the important thing. Thank you, Audrey, for your words.
I would like to add to Audrey, because I did umpire with Audrey. So, I mean, as I had told her earlier, it's really wonderful to see her get into it. And Audrey, I know your concerns, and it will really put you in like, oh my God, can I do this? But
Yeah.
you know, there were a couple of times that I said, I just can't do this anymore, because, as Wendy said, just think of all the positives. But what is special for me is seeing the umpires just progress and know you had a part in it,
The impact
right?
you
It may
have,
not have been a big part, but one little thing you may have told them just blew that door open for them to go forward, and you hold on to that. You will have the little frustrations where you could go like Wendy and do it very quietly and scream out loud and curse everybody, but don't let them hear you. Right? And when you see them, you have the smiling face, but know that you are contributing to all of their progress. So just keep holding on to that, and you will keep enjoying it over and over and over. So just hang on there.
And the other thing that is
Thank you,
important,
Susie.
and the other thing that is important, that all of you and all of us, we were umpire. We were there on the pitch, and you know what happened on the pitch. Huh? So that is important. Yes? Huh?
Yes.
Roger, Steve, Wendy, myself, Lula too.
I
We were
am
umpire.
purposely waiting to go last.
Oh, you're purposely okay. Where's Fernando?
Trust Susie,
You and Gus will go last.
it's not for a lack of not having anything to say.
Oh Lord, we know you got stuff to say.
That would be the day. That would be the day when you have nothing to say.
Correct.
Where's Fernando? Where's my boy?
One of the other things I was thinking about is that, you know, you are going to make mistakes, right? As umpires do on the field, and we put a lot of onus and pressure on ourselves because we want to be perfect for these umpires. We want to deliver. We want to, you know, be that magical person. And overall, it does happen. But when you do make a mistake, it's usually never intentional, right? Sometimes you have to make that decision because you're put on the spot, whatever. But own it. If you have made a mistake, go back and follow up. That's a key thing that I would advise. No.
Okay.
Yep.
Be humble in that respect.
Right? Like Gus and John. Oh, there's my boy.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say something?
No.
Yes, of course.
No? I have a lot of. No, I promise or not. That's me. You love or not? That's me. No. I have a lot of things I like to tell you. I try to do my best. I'm very grateful for all of you. I learned a lot. I feel that I have many more tools now for the future, and uh, and thank you for sharing your experiences. And it's not only about the field, and I learned about and you make me think about me myself, about my bias, about my a lot of things that I understand that this to be a UM is not only hockey. I believe that is about life, about friends, about share our passion, and I'm very happy to be part. And I just say thank you very much again. And the last, thank you for your effort to for your English. I'm very happy. You know, my English is difficult, but I see your effort to communicate for all the Spanish speaker, and for me it's very important. And I hope you can understand all the passion I try to put on my words. But thank you very much.
Well done.
We understand you clearly, Fernando.
100%. Your English is better than Gus's, so.
Thank you.
The exact same thing in Miami.
You teach me. Yes, you teach me a lot. Yes.
I think that's a good point for this whole group. It's been fun to watch over these 8 weeks. The confidence, Fernando's an easy example as he gets more and more, his English is great for presenting. How many times has he presented in English? We all understand.
Yeah.
So the confidence that he gains to know that he can do it. But each of you in the presentations you give and the understanding of this new role, right? Sometimes I'm curious if there's something you learned over these 4 weeks you wish you knew as an umpire.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything.
Then you'd be the perfect umpire, right, Donnie?
Wow. I don't know if that's something that's perfect, but it's sure be better than we left behind.
That what happened.
And it's funny that you brought that up, Laura, because if we go back to the meeting that we had of the first group of mentoring meetings, that was one of the things I think that, and Donnie, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of this information and a lot of information that, seems common sense if we work in management were things that I think most of the mentors would have felt, and especially around a tournament and the roles and responsibilities, people would feel better at going in and coming out of tournaments because there's an understanding of what the roles are. There's an understanding of the tournament logistics. It's not, this, great shroud of mystery that we have to go to an archaeology site to uncover. It's sharing this information and being able to be open. Was kind of an epiphany for some of the folks that were at that meeting. So maybe as we move forward as UMs, our communication about certain events becomes less, I don't want to say secretive because that's not what it is, but we open the line of communication and say, just so you know, here's the way that this is done, or here's what the roles are in a tournament, so that nobody's confused or nobody's afraid to have conversations across team lines or something like that.
Right. There's a lot of information on the FIH website, on the Pan Am website, that I think people don't even realize it's there. Sometimes it's too much, but
yeah.
Right. So you don't have to take on a whole course to share it, but just send people, go down your own rabbit hole rather than going on Facebook, search the FIH website.
Sorry.
Just
No, go ahead,
encourage dialogue from your umpires. And I think I was thinking back to one, I was in South Africa with, first time I met Michelle Juber, and Edna Rutten was the TD, but she was also our UM as well. And anyway, there was a couple of complications, and normally I would think, okay, she's dealing with that, but I could see that she was quite under pressure. And so I just thought, she needs some red wine. So I went and bought a bottle of red wine and took 2 glasses and said, is it possible you could meet me? So I sat down with her and opened the red wine and said, I don't know if I can be of any help, but I'm here to listen. And you seem to be, you know, and it was just, she was like, oh, and just boom, let loose. That conversation will remain always confidential, but it was an insight into what life was like in that bigger role, and it was certainly an eye-opener for me. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that.
I was going to say that first of all, it was very therapeutic for me. And I say that because at the first session, I still found myself sometimes veering in and out of person from an umpire perspective. And then slowly when you start to shake up and you realize that is not the rule and format that career has now surpassed, you started to look at it. Because I'm one of those persons who are always not criticizes, but critiquing with the intention to improve. And this is the first time in my being around the path that as umpire now in this role. It's the first time in a long time that I'm excited to be part of what is to come. And that have several reasons for it. And I think Gus hits it, Susie, Audrey, in terms of the willingness to share, to be sometimes, you know, open and honest, and to accept that. And I think sometimes we really misunderstand honesty. Sometimes we get offended by somebody speaking their truth or in trying to express themselves. And for me, I think what this course did, it showed me things that I have been seeing from outside, because most of the persons here may have operated within an internal role within PAF. I have not. So, you know, looking at it from the outside, I wouldn't necessarily know what's going on behind the scenes in terms of training and development and education. And I would have had my concerns about that as an umpire or for other umpires. But being part of this, understanding the administration that went in to organize, to host, to conduct, you understand? To be part of, like I'm having withdrawal symptoms, thinking, well, if I have no more sessions after today, you know, like, because it's information you could never underscore the wealth of experience that we have in our, you know, continent. And only when you go to a tournament, sometimes you feel kind of, I don't want to say less than, but you understand the kind of, you know, we're from each, you know, what kind of quality hockey you have, and yada, yada. So you always kind of, you know, second guessing to see if your region really up there with the best. And I personally, I'm very, very happy to be part of it. I'm very happy to the facilitators, you know, to the administrators, even for the people who not actually in the conversations, but listening in and from time to time coming in and out of it. I want to implore that the only way we could get better as a continent in terms of a path is if we educate, if we train, if we develop, and we must never stop at it. So like for instance, I want to suggest that the next time, you know, this cadre people, it shouldn't be, you know, should have more training, you know, we could develop into psychology, because counseling is one of our areas that we have to do informally. You know, are we trained really to really sit down and, be that kind of air sometimes to the umpires because they do have a psychologist. What about somebody break down mentally? How are you going to even try to get them to compose themselves, if that training is not provided in terms of doing your job? And it's just, little things. For instance, one of the more, I don't want to say challenging, but it was really scraping my brain, was the liaison between the umpires manager and the TO, and the need for umpires to have a training course together, whatever you want to call it, to define it so that we're on the same page as opposed to, probably having your own thoughts and views as to what really the role is and not. And that could only augur in us building stronger teams for us to keep on, probably have mentors within the umpires manager, informally, of course, where we could reach out on that kind of consistent basis in terms of keeping in contact with one another. So there are a lot of things that go into your mind, and trust me, now that I'm glad that Roger pointed out that I us as the secretary of the committee a lot of these thoughts and stuff, so that if it reaches the committee, we could have discussed, because it's all about improvement. And once we improve, and once people feel like they're getting, people investing into them, because it's not that they're not investing into them. I think there's a miscommunication with how that is reached to some of the umpires, whether the path or the countries are really investing in them. That's all for now.
I'm out for anybody else again?
Well, I hadn't had a chance to kind of, and this might help you sum it up, Roger. From the standpoint of, you gave us kind of an assignment through this of the 6 points to recall as we go through the training. I actually wrote down 5 of them because you were talking too fast for even me. But I think from looking at the accomplishments of not just what we've gone through, but the process and the methodologies that were used by Wendy and Steve, yourself, Momi, and using Susie and her experience as well. Laura, from the technical side, it provided an easy way for us to accomplish and have these 6 points and actually run through things. One thing that was at the very end, and it's funny because we talk about the enjoyment of helping people through, and that kind of that gratification that we have for seeing the success in others. One of the things that I think that if we look back on our umpiring careers, we can remember a situation off the pitch or even on the pitch where it was just, and I look at the stuff with my colleagues, whether it was Susie or in that one match that we whistled together, or Donnie or Fernando or Daniel. There's things on and off the pitch that we remember that was just a highlight of a tournament. Or we remember who might have been there and that enjoyment of being a part of that team. Are there still things as UMs, because of the additional roles that you play as a UM, are there still those instances of, oh my God, this one tournament, this guy did this, and I'm probably, calling out myself at like the oh my God moments, because who knows what the hell I've done. But do you still have those moments where on the plane you can, aside from the enjoyment of sitting back on the plane as you're traveling home, and you just get the smile of helping the 16 or the 7 umpires that you may have just left, do you still have the parts that either make you chuckle or just bust out laughing in tears because of an event that happened at a tournament? Or do you find yourself just in mostly a work situation the whole time?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I think now, now I think, Laura, is it time for I to do the closing off now?
Yeah. You taking the political way out and avoiding Gus's question?
Oh, he asked a question?
Yes.
Yes.
Gus, want to repeat the question?
He's
Wendy's
asking
got
us
an
to
answer lined up.
reflect. Yeah.
Yeah, he asked you what?
He's asking us to reflect on the moments that have maybe made us smile the most from a tournament. Or do you take time to do that? Or are you still in like work mode, thinking about everything and anything that went on with the tournament?
I might not.
The last situation was with Natalia at the Pan Am Games.
Yeah.
That will stay with me forever because of Natalia, who she is, what she represents. Priceless. Absolutely priceless. It will always, always bring a warm, fuzzy smile to my face.
All of us, we had different moments in different tournaments. It's sometimes no, it's not everything laughing or something else, but sometimes you need to put more serious and to reflect something happened with maybe an umpires. Maybe the atmosphere from the tournament is not the excellent one. I remember the CAC in Puerto Rico was not an excellent tournament, but we have
I remember too.
a good group. We have difficulty with the facilities for the umpires, the military way, all the things that happened. But sometimes, and I remember very well with one of the umpires that I said to him that you are not enjoying umpire, so please stop here. That's the different things that or the different moments that is important for the umpires manager, because we need to be transparent and we need to be realist what happened with umpires. I don't know if you remember, you, Fernando, you, Donnie, you were there, no?
Yes, I was.
Yes, too. You remember the Peru one?
Yes.
So
and the woman were
I
across
said to him,
on another dorm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I said to him, you are not enjoying umpiring. Please stop here. Stop here. If you love hockey, please go like an official or something else. Try to be a coach or something else, but not umpiring, because you are not enjoying there. That's the different moments or difficult moments that I passed in my career. But instead of that, I enjoy all the tournaments, and I enjoy that tournament as a sense of the difficulties we had. But that's important, and to be your brain very clear to say different difficult things.
Maybe my summing up will say how I feel when I sum up. Laura, you want to go? Laura, you want to go now?
I can try and tell a short story, yeah.
Okay.
It actually builds well off of what Momi said. Sometimes, and it's TD or but solving very difficult problems and having gone through them and then been pleased with the way you solved them in the end, in a way, is kind of that moment that maybe you would capture as an umpire on the pitch, where you get through a difficult moment and it went well and you think, okay, that's a funny one. Sort of two experiences for me come to mind. One is when I was a TD without an umpire manager. And we had a situation where a player's finger was broken by a swinging stick. and it developed into a big scenario. The player was in the hospital for several days. The team manager was there and uncomfortable. But finally, I was able to get a copy of the video of what had happened. And when I showed it to the coach, they immediately said, "Oh my, the player was out of position." So like all of the tension that had been going on until I was able to get this video just went away. So that was sort of you feel good about being able to change things, change the tone of the tournament there to solve that problem. And I don't know if this one exactly hits to it, but Momi was with me in Argentina for Pro League when we had some issues with weather. And weather issues in Argentina are different than weather issues in the US. They're not used to stopping matches for thunderstorms. I won't go into that whole scenario, but I mean, this is more of a TDTO story, but I was being interviewed by the media while trying to figure out, the timing between the lightning and thunder. So it was a whole lot of pressure that we were under. And I remember just as we went into the changing room afterwards, I was in there with the umpires, and finally I could just let out all of this. It had been problem solving for 3 hours straight, and just the craziest laugh came out of my mouth. And all of us just sort of, like, all the tension broke, and we just laughed the whole way home in the van because we couldn't believe what we had just gone through with these storms. So those moments definitely have been there for me as a TD and when we don't have a UM.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Moni.
Yeah. I never forget that moment. Hopefully, but you have a good team there. All your technical officers there, your table of officers, umpires manager, the umpires, and all the things. Candela too, with the chronometer, 1, 2, 3 to 20 seconds if the storm is here or the lightning or something else. But all the teams and all the officials there who supported you, because it's really, I put my hand in my heart as, please, what a surf, please. You wanted to cry then in that moment, because I saw you in your face. It's very difficult moments, but we support you, and you decided very, very well all the things that happened there, because the storm was there, the teams was there. One of the teams lost for that moment, and they came from Buenos Aires and didn't play sometimes. It's very, very difficult. Yeah.
So we'll face challenges, but surviving them
surviving for that moment, yes,
brings good memories.
Please.
Yeah.
I never forget that.
Always.
Never. I never forget.
Thank you. I think Steve joined us. Steve, you want to say your last few things? Steve?
Oops. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, very good.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Sorry, I had to drop off there for just a minute, but yeah. I mean, for me, there's been a great reward in being an umpire manager, and the biggest things is the relationships that you build up. When you take on a job like this and you have 10 or 12, sometimes more umpires underneath you, so to speak, if you do everything right and you have the relationships. You have friends around the world. You know who to contact if you're going to certain areas of the world, because you have that common bond, and that's one of the great things about being an umpire manager. I don't have any crazy stories. I've enjoyed just about everything that I've done when it comes to umpire managing, and I've been very blessed. My very first training was with Graham Nash back in 2001, I believe it was 2001. I retired in 2020, so I think it was 2001, early 2002, and that was a great experience to be able to learn from some of the best. So, nothing crazy. It's very enjoyable. Be yourself, and just enjoy it. And but it's a lot of work, as you can tell, and Audrey talked about that earlier. So just be prepared and enjoy yourself, and I'll leave it at that.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think now I can do my closing off. You all indulge me a little bit. I'm not going to be long-winded, but as a lawyer, when we're doing our closing summation, after we have to write. We can't talk from our head because we want to make sure we get it correctly. So over these past few weeks, I have jotted down certain things that I wanted to make sure I say to you all. And so I don't want to leave out anything. It wouldn't be long-winded, it will be short. But I need to get it in and things like that, right? So first, I want you all to point you all to two things. The objectives of the exercise. When we have sent the letter to you all, the invitation letter, we had certain things on that letter, and one of the things was critical was the learning outcomes. There was a number of learning outcomes. So I'd like you all to, when you all have a time, go back and look at it, see if what we attempted to do, right, we actually did based on the letter we sent to you all. And where there was a deficiency in that, I would like you all to indicate to us where they were so we'll be able to enhance that in future training sessions. Fernando, you understanding what I'm saying?
I'm a little lost.
Okay, what I'm saying, I want you, Edmundo, you want to tell him in Spanish?
Yes, but tell me again.
Okay, what I'm saying.
Roger, I'll bring up the letter.
Okay, I want you all to look at the learning outcomes we had in the letter that was sent to you all, right? And I want you all to go back and think about it and see if what we attempted to do over these 8 days, we achieved it in the learning outcomes, right? So you all think about that, and where we didn't, or where we didn't touch as we wanted to do, send back a note to us in respect of that. So look at the learning outcomes, right? That's important for me, here. And we were here for 8 days, and we had 32 contact hours, which is a long amount of hours to deal with it. And based on that, I want to first thank the PAC Umpiring Committee for going with it, accepting that, and moving forward with it. Secondly, I want to thank the facilitators. I want to thank Laura Hess in two capacities. The first capacity to keeping us in line, on time, very professional project management style. Thank you very much. And always keeping us in terms of when we sit down to think about what we want to do, keeping us on track with that. So that was excellent. I enjoyed that very, very much. I must thank her for that in a personal capacity. Secondly, I would like to thank her for that presentation. It was extremely insightful. And a lot of us learned a lot, especially in her presentation with the dichotomy between the TD and the UM. So thank you very much, Laura, for that. Fernando, you hearing me?
Yes, Roger, I understand. Thank you. En serio. Entendí.
You're welcome.
Gracias.
Thank you all for letting me fill in with the TD perspective, and we will continue to build that relationship.
Yep.
I'd like to thank
Thank you.
Wendy for taking those two difficult topics, the psychological aspects of umpiring, the soft skills and the psychology of umpires managers in terms of dealing with your umpires and conflict management. And she is right because her last experience would have brought all that into play in Peru. So she had practical experiences and gave us that our best. So as umpires managers, you either have to develop it in terms of training, and as an umpiring committee, we'll try to incorporate that in our training for umpires managers. But you're also, based on your life experiences and your environment, you do build up a certain amount of experiences in conflict management and soft skills in terms of dealing with human beings. And you need to bring that to the fore also. So thank you very much, Wendy. I think you were apt in doing that because you have the dual continental experiences, Scottish and Canadian. So that's it. So thank you very
And
much.
never the twain shall meet. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have to be mindful of, we have in our midst a very important and experienced individual in Steve Hogan. He's one of the Olympic umpires managers. And we should be thankful and happy that we were able to pick his brain and his experience and knowledge in delivering these topics, debriefing preparation and debriefing of umpire appointments. And in addition, he was a member of the FIH Rules Committee. So what a better fit to have somebody explain a lot of the things.
Yeah.
And I hope that you all do not let the opportunity pass by not frustrating Steve, by questioning him, calling him, WhatsApping, on anything you want to find out, because that is the go-to person. But the FIH Officials Committee has said that for the year of the Olympic year, the only person or the person should be talking to in terms of interpretation for rules or rules on the rules of the game should be the Olympic UMs for that particular year. Right? So take note of that.
Yeah.
The other person I think I need to thank very much is Mommy. And I rarely call people by the nicknames.
Edmundo.
Edmundo has a variety, a wide experience in UM in managing umpires, umpiring, and he'll also do it at the pro league level. He's extremely down to earth, and he breaks down things in a very easy and way to understand how to difficult situations in respect of the dynamics of umpires, of the team of umpires, the different levels, working with different UMs,
Yeah.
the different level of plays that the umpires have to manage in any given situation. And I think as a person who delivered that topic, it was easy for you to accept it and understand where he was coming from and how to use your experiences in bringing that kind of way of dealing with umpires and UMs going forward. So thank you very, very much, Mommy, for that knowledge and deliverance of that particular topic, right? I'm not going to talk too much about myself in terms of it because, okay, I delivered something that I was I wanted to be a part of it because our continent is extremely diverse. And it is important that we as umpires managers understand that each umpire is unique. And we should always try to bring out the best out of each unique person in your charge for our continent. And if, as an umpire manager, you develop our umpires to the full potential as an umpire manager, going on the international scene in terms of the FIH level will be an easy stepping stone. Because you will have practiced and have a lot of experience within a very diverse continent. So going further thereafter will be very easy, right? Right. I need to make two statements as I close off.
Roger, before you close off, since you didn't tell yourself thanks, I'm saying thanks to you for that presentation. I thought it was very thought-provoking, and I thought it was very important without the diversity in our continent. And I thought it was excellent presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. But I tend not to like to get those things really kudos.
But we're still giving you anyway.
I wrote down this two things I had in my mind, and I wrote it to say to you all, and I want you all to think about it. Is this one. The first statement I want to say is, I fully realize that we as a group of facilitators have not succeeded in answering all your questions. I'm deliberately going slow for Mommy and Fernando. Indeed, I feel we have not answered any of them completely. The answers I have found only serve to raise a whole new set of questions from you all, which only leads to more problems. To sum it up, I feel we are just as confused as ever in some ways. But I believe we are confused at a higher level and about more important things. I want you all to think about that, if you understand what I'm saying. I can send the note to you all if you want to go back and think about it. And this last one is from Confucius. You know what? In 451 BC, he said, and I quote, "What I hear, I forget. What I see, I may remember. But what I do, I understand." So I want you all to take those two things when you're going on in your career, and remember that, right? And that is what I want to say to you all in closing off. Thanks very, very much.
Thank you too.
Right.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Roger.
So Laura, do your closing off now. You open this so you can close off.
Laura Hess, Laura Macchiotti.
Both Lauras.
I think Willard wants to say something, Roger. I think Willard wants to say something.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Willard.
Hi, everyone. Been quietly listening like a fly on the wall. I didn't get, fortunately, I didn't get swatted as yet, but anyway. Before you finalize and close off, I just wanted us to say a few words. I've observed some of your sessions, and I'm particularly pleased how things seem to have gone. And I just want to, first of all, just mention a couple of things that came out in your from a couple of you. It was Donnie who talked about
You're on mute.
Not hearing.
You're on mute.
Did somebody swat him?
Willard, you got muted.
No?
He doesn't have white hair, so he shouldn't get swatted.
Somebody watched a debate last night.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Laura, wrap up. If he has a problem on his side, if he could get on before you come in, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Right, I tend to be the logistics person, so I will remind you that Dropbox is out there with lots of resources to reflect back on. Thank you all. Everyone's contributed to that. We will leave that out there for you. If it becomes too much size for your Dropbox, you can just copy it to your own computer and then unfollow that Dropbox. As a reminder, all of us continue to be here for you. We have the WhatsApp or the WhatsApp group. If you have questions that you want to share with everyone, that continues to be there. We're all here as resources individually as well. Right. Personally, I had not a great day at work today. There was another COVID case reported. So I just remember driving home and thinking, I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys. So that came up earlier as well.
That's nice.
Right. It's really been a comfort to have hockey, and our passions, our shared passions that we have around the world, and to come together. So thank you all.
Thank you,
Roger,
Laura.
are we going to give Willard another moment?
Thank you, Laura.
Here he comes.
We saw it.
Yes, Laura, he's coming back on another computer. So he's coming back on to you.
So where do we go from here? Johnny's going to have withdrawal symptoms.
And Laura, it seems.
Laura, we have to schedule a meeting of the
If you hear the funny thing, so I was when I was scheduling the on my calendar, apparently I did it for the rest of the year. So it's every Thursday and Sunday. It keeps popping up a reminder that I have Blue Jeans Umpires Managers seminar.
That's how enthusiastic you are.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
No, it was refreshing. I mean, content initially was a little intense, especially some of the topics that we were dealing with. But gradually, just the norming part of it, I think, and people starting to understand and, interact and engage, and then you have to come and leave now. Right?
We see
Our
you,
work
Willard.
is not done.
Yeah, Laura is online.
Yeah,
So we can let him,
Right. Willard, you have the floor.
Right.
Who's speaking?
Hey, we need.
Oh, Laura.
Yeah.
The floor is yours, Willard.
Oh, okay, thanks. Sorry. Technical failures at the right time. Just wanted to, as I said, I wanted just to say that I've been attending a couple of your sessions quite, quietly, letting you all do your thing. But as you close off, I listened to some of what was said today, and three things that I would want to just suggest is that I think Donnie was the one who mentioned it, is that in terms of continuing to have dialogue amongst yourselves, you can do, I would suggest, an open space from time to time, maybe once every couple of weeks or something like that, so it keeps you all dialoguing and sharing and keeping sharp that way. Second thing is in terms of developing of relationships. I've heard a lot about your relationships between yourselves and umpires, but as an umpires manager, I think it's critical that you also develop relationships with the technical delegate or TOs. You get a lot of different angles and different insights from different angles, and vice versa. It's not only contributing to your own performance and development, but also to help them as well. Because one of the things I've seen over the years is that there are a lot of people who come on the scene as technical officials and TDs, and they still have to sign off on performances, and they don't really have a clue. And that's where you can be a great help in not just telling them this is what they should be signing off on, but to enlighten them how you see things, how things are seen from the umpiring side, and bring them more into that, because that will help them in the development. And lastly, I think, certainly you must be open and honest, even if it's going to be hard. If you have to share bad news or not so good news or difficult news, do it. And also do it not just personally, but if you have to, in terms of your reports, report what is, and not a softened version, because you don't want to offend the person, you don't want to make them feel bad, that sort of thing. Because the reports, believe it or not, do indicate, are looked at, and in terms of person's future, they may or may not have a future. If you don't put the honest things there, sometimes it could lead to different and difficult situations down the road. And we've seen it not simply at the lower level of umpires, but at the top world-class level, where some of very good, bordering on great umpires have had some difficulties, but nobody told them, this is what we really see, and this is what we, to be honest with them. And so to allow them to correct or to work on it and correct or adjust. So as umpires managers, you are in the perfect position to be that person to assist them. Okay. It's good to see the path that all of you have taken. I've known all of you for quite a lot of years. I've actually seen some of you from the start of your careers. I'm not going to try to date myself, but it's good to see that you're continuing on the path and you're beginning another journey along the way. And as I'm coming to the end of my own on-field career, or have come to it. It's nice to see that the baton has been passed and that you're taking up the challenge. The future is going to be very difficult, because you're facing you're not facing the experiences that you have talked about. You're going to be facing new experiences, new challenges, in the positions that you as umpires, managers, as mentors. the world is changing. The world itself is changing, and it's not just the pandemic that is causing that. And so you're going to have to be very open-minded, think out of the box, think laterally, and you're going to be faced with situations and new things that may pop up. An example, we have the Pro League has just restarted in a minimal form, but there is a lot of stuff that the match managers and all the officials have to deal with in terms of health and safety protocols that have now been introduced, some of which has not been necessarily taught out thoroughly, some of which you're going to have to learn by experience. And so, be always looking to thinking and looking to see and asking the questions, about things that are happening, so that you're better prepared and you can assist and even contribute towards some of the development of the things that is needed in our sport today as the world continues to change and as our sport continues to evolve and change. So I know that y'all are, well prepared, and I'm confident that you will continue to represent PAF to the highest level. We have a history of having the officials anyway from PAF doing very well, and I'm sure that all will continue to do that. And I hope to, be able to see that in the near future when hockey resumes. So thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wheeler.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Okay, Roger, anything else?
No, we have to arrange to have a meeting with the facilitators so we can find out the best date. It's just going to be short, just have one thing in the agenda, right?
Yep, we can arrange that on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And, right, if we have anything more specific for the participants, we'll look for it on email, but at this point, we'll see you on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye.
See you next one.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
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 Adios. Ciao, ciao.
Hasta la vista.
Maybe.